The ego is the system that runs your sense of self. It is made out of thought patterns, emotions, and behavior loops, and the stories that try to hold it all together. Left unchecked, it creates endless existential searching, chronic disconnection, and the persistent sense that something is wrong. The goal of my videos is clarity, to see your identity and its contradictions for what they are, named precisely, to finally understand what it is that we're all running away from. Searching for meaning is egoic vanity because everything is meaningful. There's nothing in existence that doesn't matter. The question is, what perspective does your own brain, your own 3D model rendering engine use in order to relate to whatever matters? It is funny that in physics, physical matter has the word matter in it, as if the matter is what matters. It's like the force that causes things to create, meaning. And if you are in this nihilistic funk, you have a lot of mechanisms in your own brain rendering engine that tries to convince you that it doesn't actually matter because you're just like a subjective interface, or you're just neurons firing in the brain, or your experience in some shape or form is not very valuable because you're just one in who knows how many billions, right? Like trillions of experiences if you include other like beings like insects or whatever, right? You can relativize everything. But if this were true, then experience couldn't be happening. Like if there truly was nothing that matters, then you couldn't interact with it. So the moment you have light hitting your eye and you have vision and you're seeing something through that vision that is physical, then the phenomenon of having this experience means that something matters because your attention is now focused on a point. Now, the reason why we humans are not running around amazed by literally every single atom that we see in this world is because primarily we are focused on our survival so that our own system can survive and procreate. On a deeper level, the psychological mechanism, once it has found existential survival, like just physical survival, is looking for something more than this, right? It's looking for meaning that needs to be given from some higher force, and then for it to be somehow like personalized, like you becoming a hero in your own story, or saving the world, or having a deep impact in the world. And if you were like me, or if you are like me, then you also have this narrative that it needs to come from some higher force. Because if it isn't from some higher force, it kind of gets neutralized into, everything else. Then it's just like any other perspective. And if it's like any other perspective, then you kind of neutralize it and you make it into like a flat system. And then you can say, okay, it doesn't matter because, I'm just in this perspective. But from another perspective, this is completely useless. So why bother? If your mind is running like this, then what I want you to put attention on is the mechanism that is causing this reaction. Because if you do agree that you are a biological organism with a biological system, then you also agree that the way you see the world is how your brain is rendering it. And if your brain is lacking the ability to render meaning, then there must be something interfering with this natural meaning emergent. Like, let's say that you are skeptical about me saying everything has meaning in the way I defined it. But then just think about everything as being neutral. Now, if everything is truly neutral, okay, fine. But you are still looking for something more than neutrality. So you're looking for meaning. This means that even if everything is neutral, you don't seem to be, or at least you don't want to be. You're looking for something more. And if this is the case, then you must have a mechanism that matters just by the act of looking for something more meaningful. So being depressed, being unhappy, being unsatisfied, not liking your life, being nihilistic even, proves that things matter. It is a contradiction to be truly nihilistic, but then pretend that the word nihilism doesn't create its own meaning architecture. Like if you say the word nihilism, then this word means at least something, right? And even if you cannot tether it to some like God-given objective meaning, at least for you, it must mean something. And as long as nihilism means something rather than nothing, then nihilism also kind of disproves itself. Now, the reason this is all very unsatisfying for the ego is because the ego is looking for meaning that fulfills its existence. It is the part of the machine that is looking at everything that is rendering, but itself wants to be the most important part. The entire identity machinery wants to feel like it is special and it matters more than the other sensation in its experience. And in a lot of ways, it doesn't really exist as this clearly defined contained space. And in noticing this lack of its own existence, it also noticed that a lot of the attempts to derive meaning from things that originate from this ego or from this meaning making machinery is actually false. It is actually not true. And if you understand that, you are basically making up meaning as you go and you have deep insight into how this mechanics works, then nihilism is a kind of form of wisdom, right? Like you understand something about how this is functioning. Like if you play tennis, for example, you're just ping-ponging a ball from one place to another. Like where is the meaning in that? The only way this could be meaningful is if humans pretend to to make it matter. And then this becomes kind of meaningful by design, but it is pretty much an illusion. Now, if you deconstruct all meaning making that the body does on a daily basis for everything, then you seem to look at everything from the space of, okay, nothing really matters. And as long as you have this nothing really matters going on, plus this desire for something more, then you will always have this feeling that existence in of itself is kind of like wrong and it needs to be fixed. And that you, maybe intellectually or in some other way, you need to find your grand purpose in life, and then you can fix reality in that way. But it is impossible to change what is actually the case. The only thing that you can change is the way your own system interacts with it. And if you have changed how your system interacts with it and you have deconstructed all meaning and you see that reality actually is quite neutral, then you put yourself in a very bad situation that seems like it has absolutely no escape. Now, the difficult thing in this is that you need to flip it on its head. Because when I say that reality is neutral, what it actually means that meaningfulness and meaninglessness is the same thing. There's actually not very much a difference in these two things. The only difference is that we relate to it differently. But no matter if you have an experience of meaningfulness or like a meaningful experience, or you have a meaningless experience, if you are aware of what is going on in the moment that you have these sensations, you can always figure out that there must be some sort of value by the fact of experiencing anything at all. So therefore, even an experience of meaninglessness, even an experience of neutrality would include neutrality as a phenomenon. So neutrality as a phenomenon exists independent of what you want reality to be like. The phenomenon of boredom, the phenomenon of depression, it exists independent of what you want reality to be like. And if you experience this, then you know this to be true. And the only thing you can really do is to try to deny it. So when I say neutrality, it is actually just a different way to say that, everything exists and therefore everything is meaningful. The neutral feeling is just a healthy baseline of a human body that is not trying to look for something beyond of what is already the case. If you are deeply intellectual, then this feels very unsatisfying because it is not about the truth. It is about the ego's desire of what the truth should be like. And it personalizes everything. It makes everything into a personal narrative. And that's why if you look at the state of things in this neutral manner, then the own body says, okay, I am basically worthless. Like I have no point to this. Because no matter what I do, it's kind of all the same. And this is also the case if you say, okay, everything matters. Like it's all the sense of, phenomenology appearing and you being aware of it and you having either the burden or the privilege to see it. Then from this point of view, again, right? If you cannot make it about yourself and feel like you are somehow more important in this, in this appearing, then it also starts to feel like kind of vapid. So you do want to be part of something larger. You want to be part of something bigger. And at the same time, you kind of also want it to be about yourself. And you want you to be the reason for why these new experiences or phenomenon are appearing. And I think that the real purpose or meaning making system that comes online is just really a process of direction. If you have directionality in your life and you move straight towards a goal that you have, then over time, the rendering system realizes, okay, every time I sit down to write something over a long period of time, this actually changes my environment, changes the amount of experiences or the types of experiences that I have. And it makes me into a different person. And this is true for everything that you could do that would change your own, phenomenological experience, the way you relate to meaning and the way you create meaning by, acting on what you are perceiving. And what I always thought is that if I could convince myself that there is some sort of objective goal that I could attain, then I could create this meaning making system. And then reality would feel meaningful just by the fact of, having convinced myself that objective real meaning exists and then working towards it. But it actually works the other way around. You do kind of have some loose goal about what you could accomplish over a long period of time. But really, if you just enjoy something, you just do it in the moment because in the moment you find it meaningful. It is so easy to play a lot of video games or, just engage with a lot of entertainment because it allows you to be very intuitive and to not overthink so much what you have to do. So a video game is very fun because it has a lot of mechanisms that make it easy for you to enter a flow state and to kind of feel like what you are engaging with is somewhat meaningful because you are investing your intellect, you're investigating your mind, you're investigating your agility, you're learning more about whatever this game is doing. And then you kind of notice, okay, the only sad thing about this, why it feels so vapid and meaningless, is because it doesn't actually move my life forward. They're not really consequences beyond the game or consequences for my health or my finances or the way I can connect with people. So it all feels meaningless. And here you can see that the real meaninglessness is always a consequence of the lack of direction. Because if it doesn't lead you to somewhere, the internal simulation or the meaning making system basically goes offline because there's really nothing to gain. And the sense of meaninglessness often is this feeling like, okay, I must find something to gain. I must find something that makes my own reality better in a meaningful way. There are two types to approach this. One type is through egoic vanity, which makes it everything about itself. It's this need to be valued, this need to be seen prestigious, this need to be seen as competent. And on one side, this is also kind of natural, right? Because we are social animals, we want to project resources and value onto others. But the way more effective way to approach this is really through the same impulse that you have when you play a game. Because if you now start to write your novel or record your first YouTube video or enter this new career path or build your own business, then the real training that makes it all appear meaningful is to just reduce the gap between a desire to do something and then doing it. And then the closer this gap becomes, the easier it becomes for the system to, from one moment to another, just do something that actually moves your life forward. And this instinct to do something productive or healthy or something you think would bring you long term often appears in kind of like a small window throughout the day. Like maybe you're distracted for 70% of the day, and then you have maybe like 1-2 minutes of like a surge that tells you, oh, I wish I could do something else. You kind of really need to catch these moments and follow the lead so that your brain can rewire itself into learning that doing this actually feels better. It feels better in the short term, and then through repetition in the long term, and then you can see the fruits of your labor. A few small fruits of your labor, and then it feels meaningful also in the long term. But this long term meaning cannot really come until you have seen some sort of feedback and some sort of result. And I can say for my part, I love my current state of my life. Like I like where things are going. I have like a big vision and stuff. But I don't feel like this classical ambition or super like motivated drive. But I'm thinking like I have that. Like I am envisioning becoming very rich in this life. I am envisioning maybe becoming very famous in this life, probably more than I actually want to be. Like I don't want this to happen in some sort of goal sense. It is not something that I'm really striving towards, but I'm seeing that the way I'm operating my life right now kind of inevitably will lead me to this place, and it seems meaningful. So I just keep following that path. And the impact that I do have is is very nice and it's very pleasant. But I don't think that my relationship to purpose and meaning is dependent on these outside circumstances whatsoever, because it is really just fueled internally. It is like the idea of intrinsic or extrinsic motivation, and it's that always it always will be the fact that extrinsic motivation usually runs out. Like if you have an outside goal like making money as like your main motivating force, then for most people this doesn't bring them all the way. But if you have intrinsic motivation, you just play the game because you enjoy it, you just build the business because you enjoy it, then usually you can go very far because you're not going to be pushed around by anything. You're going to be satisfied just by doing the thing, by just being yourself. And then over time, you also get the benefits of extrinsic motivation because, you're getting external feedback from your environment that what you're doing is, bringing joy to people or, changing something in a meaningful way. And then all these questions, like these metaphysical questions of, but what does it really matter if I'm just one person in a million? What does it really matter if, I die one day? Like all of these questions really are the mind trying to block the new meaning system to emerge. Because in the real, raw reality of the present moment experience, the meaning is very much evident because of the phenomenology of said experience. Like you can, it is a very odd example, but like what is the meaning of a shower? Like if you go to the shower and and get wet and then put shampoo on your body and then you go outside, what happened? Well, you got clean. Now you're a cleaner person than you were before. Now, if the mind goes, wow, that's very meaningless, like it is a delusion. Like it's not meaningless. I just told you exactly what the meaning of this activity was. This is what the action was, and this was the outcome, and it's pretty clean. It is simple. I have a Substack post that is called "Meaning is Like Breakfast," where I go way deeper into this that you can check in the link in the description. And it, plays on the fact, or like it goes deeper into the fact that it is really something simple to live in alignment with meaning. All it requires is not to keep distracting yourself from all this intellectual doubt that tries to make something very beautiful and simple into something complicated and abstract. And through that, you truly do see meaning everywhere. Because now there's a magic in every single atom you see. There's nothing within your own conscious experience that isn't sprawling with potential meaning. There's like every single atom that has been created in this universe has a purpose because it affects every single other atom in the universe. So the interconnectivity of the system is not something that you just can dismiss. And depending on which lens you take, one thing seems more meaningful than another, and some things seem, less meaningful than others. But all of this is already kind of like mental overlay, which is fine, right? We are humans. We do differentiate. We do have preferences. That's all part of the course. But a real objective look at all things is that, everything is kind of created equally, and meaning emerges from the bottom up through the interaction of things. And since all you have is interaction between things, there's really meaning sprawling everywhere. And that's why you have so many stuff, right? You have so many objects in this world that we've created, which you can also look at as sort of, cosmic creativity. Because who came up with cameras? Like, who came up with hair? Who came up with human bodies? There's a lot of like mystery in how complex and intelligent everything seems to be. And I would go as far as to say that it is not just human 3D modeling perception that intelligence is real. And it is not just subjective experience that reality in of itself has beauty in it. To a large extent, humans make it into like their own form of beauty, right? Through their own human frameworks. But I'm very, very certain that when you see something like a beautiful sunset and you're kind of touched by it, it is not merely a biological process.